Okay, let's go. Yes, we are live. Yeah, what was I doing? Not yesterday. Well, I woke up to stream yesterday, but while the coffee was brewing, I fell asleep. I woke back to bed. That was new. That's never happened before. I mean, not after like that much of a time span. Okay, anyway. Sidetracked. Right. Okay, I was trying to load the game code dynamically. And as far as I get it, I understand it needs to be loaded something like this so it can be reset or it can be controlled. So otherwise, I wonder. Dynamically loading music code. And the function you want to export from library using export keyword. All right, I think I do remember. What if I didn't build this separately? Compile the file. I mean, which makes sense because it's not built. Alright, so this is needed. At least the window works, which is good. Segmentation for altered address. Memory between zig code dynamically loading. See what that does. When you export a function, it automatically becomes call convert.c. And function pointer should be const. So the correct type for the call to look up is I'm not sure what is going on, to be honest, but I also hadn't used this before. I mean, this seems like a tangent. Dynamic library code in GDB by stepping through assembly instructions one at a time. Calling from within seem to invoke the correct system call. But the pointer is passed as the text buffer to write did not point to the string called hello at runtime. Okay, they both exported. Interesting. Even, well, actually, I don't return anything. That's fine. What happens at string 2? Interesting. See, and it worked properly. Trying the C library with Zig program cost table now found. Not sure. Stick to C, C to Zig. Yeah, actually, this is what I'm trying to do. For example, imagine you wrote a massive game engine called engine compiling the entire game. This is feasible. Yep, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Nig itself generally has no special issues with dynamic linking process. But for a game engine or OS kernel or something similar, it might not be the case. Problem with an example. Okay, so this is exported. Things compile some calculations which can lead to issues. This I solved by separating the dynamic code. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that won't work. Because you gotta dynamically look up, find asset. It's both the API implementation resulting in its own find function and an independent asset slice in our game. Seems like we have to manually separate the API from the implementation. But this does not align well with separating implementation from the API. I think that's not what. I think these like shared libraries are not a good idea. Shared object, meaning that one of the same library can be used by various programs unrelated by each other. I never knew that was. Is that what DLL meant? I never knew. I live handmade debug native. Why twice? File executable handmade debug native cached. Yeah, I think that's the main Seems misunderstood. I think so too, baggage. Finds both extern and export. Do I have... Yeah. I think it's the wrong address. Why? I know this is necessary. What if I don't export it? Make it public. Main 199. Okay, so it's optional. Can't find it. Does need to be exported. Zig pass pointers to... That change anything? Not really. Normal structs in Zig do not have to have a defined layout. External structs are required when you want the layout of the struct to match the layout of your C ABI. Forgot what ABI was. Create an external struct. This should run with x86 with GNU ABI, which can be done with target x86 64. Application binary interface. All of these seem mostly for dealing with C code. I think the thread's taken a life of its own. I don't even know what's a bit about anymore. Let's check. Okay, so this is a zig file. If I put, what happens? Trying random stuff at this moment. Let me ask Cloud. How can I pass pointers to dynamically loaded zip code? Requires careful attention to the ABI. Right, the key is ensuring both the loader and the loaded code agree on the memory layout and calling convention. Loading and calling from the platform layer. Did miss that. What's that? Call convert. No, that's not it. But does lookup take two variables? Under no way. Okay. Did that just work? Okay, well, that was it. Thank you, Cloud. That was useful. Interesting. So the other thing I was missing was that bit. And I did see it yesterday, but I was like, oh, I'm not returning anything. So, okay, cool. That's awesome. That means we can now reset the state at any time. What do I call it? What else? Unreachable. That's not defined. Let's do this here. Hang on a minute. Shouldn't this be here? Okay. No, it shouldn't. That's weird. Oh, because that one's the next frame. My bad. Sorry. Is it? Yeah, I think that's the next frame. I think, I'm not sure. Yeah, because there's a sleep here in between. Nice. So, okay, let's have a look at what we can do with it now that it's loaded dynamically.
DLL. If we wanted to, we can make it so that we can just reload that code on demand, essentially, right? So if we want to, we can say, okay, this is Win32 load code. We could also do...
YouTube's broken.
If we wanted to, we can make it so that we can just reload that code on demand, essentially, right? So if we want to, we can say, okay, this is Win32 load code. We could also do something like this, Win32 unload game code, right? Which would basically be taking this Win32 game code thing here, and it will take one of these and unload it, just flat out get rid of it, right? So we've got our game code. It's going to take a pointer to the game code, and it's going to go ahead and say, if it's valid, right? Well, actually, I guess it doesn't even need to do that. It's just going to go ahead and do a free library on game code DLL, right? Assuming that game code DLL was actually DLL. There we go. Assuming that it was actually there, it's going to free it, and then regardless of what it's going to do, it'll just go ahead and set this stuff so that basically the game code is no longer considered valid, right? It's not valid anymore, and everything is reset to the stubs. Game code update render, game code set sound samples, that, and so that'll unload our game code, right? So let's see, no object file generated, unload game code on reference local function. Okay, well that's fine because we're about to use it. So now if we really wanted to be absurd, which I don't want to be, but I'm just going to demonstrate the fact that we could be absurd if we wanted to in theory. We could go ahead and actually just load and unload the game code every time through this loop, right? There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't do that. right? I can go in here and I can say, all right, I'm going to take this game code and I'm going to load and I'm going to unload it every time, right? So there's the load. Oops. Sporadic key class. There's the load. There's the unload. So what I'll do is I'll go into our running thing. At the top of the loop, I'll load the game code in. And after we're done with our game loop, I'll just unload it, right? Which one of the, let's see here. That's while global running. So there we go. And that's the, samples. So in theory, I think that'll actually work, but it'd probably tank our frame rate. But I think it actually would work. Let's find out. Yeah, so it's going to ruin.
Okay, I think seems interesting. Why does this need to be public? Interesting. Never thought that. And the game, what's this? Right audio. Yeah. Load game code. Load, I can just I could just move this here. This would return game update and render function instead of that. Make that optional. I think unload is quite easy. I need the game lib. I'd have to pass it the game lib. Is that a type? What is the type? What? Close. 10 to nothing. I'm not sure if I need a method for this. Yeah, this can go. Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so let's try this. Start of the loop. Game code is what did I call the method? Load game code. Well, I can't close the library because if anybody has to like let me have a look at the documentation. Close lookup open the I don't want to close the method. I called lib handmade. What happens if I load it every time? Oh yeah, I need the type. There it is. It's right here. Where's that now? Lib lookup. I'm gonna undo all of this. It's a lot of grief for not a lot. Yeah, I'll leave this as is. I guess if you need to, you could just wonder if you can look up multiple times. I guess you get the same method, so it doesn't make any sense. But you could unload the library.
Things a bit for us, but you know, it appears to work. And you can actually see it if you actually look in here. If we look at our history, you can see us unload and load, unload and load, unload and load all the time, right? So basically what's happening there is it's actually going to load and unload this guy, that stuff that we built in here all the time. Now, what we can do is we can go in here and say, now we actually have a problem. I just realized we still have a static variable in here, right? That T sign should have gotten moved out to the game state, but it never did. So we need to get rid of all our local persist because there shouldn't have been any more of those, and that's going to cause a problem because those things are in the DLL. So if it gets loaded and unloaded, they're going to reset every time. So we've got a T sign here.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
I think I've already moved that out.
and fix that so that T sign actually gets initialized properly. So in the game state, when we set the tone hertz, we're going to go ahead and set the T sign equal to 0.0f. And now when T sign gets used, we're actually going to use sort of the game state T sign, right? So let's see here, game state. And all I'm doing there, really very straightforward, right? I had a old static variable, a local persistent variable, and I don't want that because we don't want anything stored in the DLL. We just want everything to come in the standard memory like we planned. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now we just need to pass that game state because presumably this does not take that currently. So here we go. Game state, right up in there. So game output sound now has to take the game state, but other than that, everything is good. And let's rerun it. There we go. Good as new. And somehow that is so fast that we actually can do it every frame. I guess because our code is so small, it's a little surprising, but it kind of works, right? Now in theory, and I don't know because we're loading and unloading it so fast, the compiler may not be able to slip in there to actually write the file. In theory, what we should be able to do, if we really want to, right, is while this is running, we should now be able to do some really crazy town stuff, right? We should be able to come in here and say, okay, I don't know, the game's running, but if I wanted to, I could come in here and say that this was actually going to be shifted up 16 instead, right? When I compile that, yeah, so that's the problem, is it can't ever open it for writing. Do you see how that's happening? So I got to do the next step of my process before we can really get to the awesomeness. All right.
Interesting.
That's okay, because the next step is pretty darn trivial. The next step is pretty darn trivial. So all we have to do now is we're loading and unloading this code every frame, but we're loading and unloading it so fast that the compiler doesn't actually have a chance to write to the file because it's always being opened by ours. So I guess one thing I could do, here's an easier way to do it than what I was going to do. So let's actually try to verify that this works first, and then we'll go back and do it the fancier way, because we're almost out of time, and so maybe the fancier way will have to wait till tomorrow. So where is my load game code? So here's my load game code. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to load the game code before we enter here, right? But then I'm going to take the free code, the unload game code, right? And I'm actually just going to do at the top of the loop, I'm going to do the unload game code, and then I'm going to do the load game code immediately after, right? And I'm going to actually, I think what I want to do here, well, no, this is fine. So we'll basically just do this, right? So there we go, like that. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically say, you know, I've got a counter, load counter, and that load counter is going to be like every 60 frames or something like that, right? So every 2 seconds. Maybe we'll make it a little bit more, right? Like that. And what I'm going to do here is basically say, if the load counter is greater than 120, then we'll reset the load counter so that we just do it every few times through the loop, if that makes sense. That's all we're going to do. So we will say every time through the loop we increment the load counter. This will give us 120 frames at 30 frames a second is like 4 seconds. That should give the compiler some time to open the file. So that's all I did, is I just said, all right, let's only unload and load it that frequently, if that makes sense. So off we go. Let's see now if we can actually get the file to open at some point. So let's see here. Can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? No, we can't. Well, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong in terms of freeing the library, because that could also be the case. Free library. We are doing the free library, although this should actually do. I should actually set this so that it's clear what's happening here. For some reason, that is, oh, well, duh. I don't know why I thought that was going to make it any better. Now that I think about it, that's just dumb. Because basically, yeah, basically I still have to do one more step of the process, because this will still only leave it unlocked in between there. Just because I'm not reloading it again, obviously the DLL will be locked while it's being used. So I got to do one more step of the process, right? What I got to do is I got to make it so that I'm not locking the thing that the compiler is outputting to, right? So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to, when I do the reload, I'm just going to copy that file, right? I'm just going to use the copy file call, which is a Windows call, right? Copy file. And the copy file function just basically takes two things and does the copy, right? It just takes an existing file and a new file, and it copies from the existing to the new one. That's it. And you can pass it whether you want it to fail if the new file exists or not. So if you want to always create a new one, which we don't. So all I'm going to do is basically like there's something called, let's say, handmade temp.dll, and I'm going to copy handmade.exe to that handmade temp, right? That's all I'm going to do. Nothing particularly weird there. I'm going to do that copy, right? And the copy is going to allow me to lock a file that is not the file that the compiler is outputting to, right? Pretty straightforward. So I know that'll work because now I'm not locking that file anymore. I'm locking a different file, and I know that I will do the copy when I have it unlocked. So let's take a look at this here. Oops, that's not good. Looks like my copy did not work particularly well. Did that actually work? Where's my copy file? Oh, because we're running in the data directory as well, aren't we? Okay, so we need to do one more thing, which is a little janky. Okay, but we can get around that for the time being. All right, so basically the problem here, though, is this stuff only works. This is only without a path. This is only going to work if this stuff is in the current directory. So what I need to do temporarily is set the current directory to that, because until we do the full thing, which I guess we'll have to again wait till tomorrow to do, we don't know where we're looking for stuff. We don't know where those DLLs are going to be. So we don't really want a handmade. We don't really want to hard code this path in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just run it in the build directory where everything is, and that should actually work, right? And so now you can see if I look in here, it actually did that. It did that copy that I wanted to do. And it should be doing that copy every so often, right? Because remember, I put a timer on there. Well, not really a timer. It's a frame counter on there so that it'll periodically do it. So now when I go in here, in theory, I should be able to actually write to the file, but I don't actually know. Let's see. Error writing to program database, handmade.pdb. Oh, okay. So we do have one more problem, which is that the debugger itself is locking our PDB file as well, which is definitely not what we wanted it to do. Oh, debugger. Well, all right. So we can still make this happen in the short term here. We can run our game outside of the debugger, and we can do this, I suppose. Let's see here. There we go. So there you go. This is now actually doing what we wanted it to do, which is basically we can edit the code and have it update while we're running, right? And we don't actually have to stop the executable. And again, the state is all actually there as well, right? Yeah. There's no... We could get to the boss fight, change the code, and see it update in real time, and without having to do anything, right? So it's sort of as good as having a scripting language in some sense.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so to be able to do that, I need to copy as DSO here. Excuse me. Yeah, if I copy as well here, question is, everything VA copy. So I could just use the thing FS. Change. No. I guess I could just create a copy. Just read and write to a different file. Luckily, I do have the right file. Not really. Okay, I have some here. Call this copy. Two. It should be file dot open. File absolute. Without attempting to create a new file based on the absolute path. What if I wanted to of you only get the file handle after you open it. So I guess open file absolute. by the same point as the buffer. Link matches. No. Open a file for reading or writing without attempting to create a new file. Okay, so what's it called again? Open file. Subpath flags. E2. Okay, equals exclusive dot right equals true. Catch error, and then just move this here. Our file is fs.file. Yeah, if that fails, just return. File.close. So that should, yeah. Now I'd go to copy. Hang on, I can't. Could you just source directory, source path, destination directory, destination path. Why didn't I find that before? Doesn't work in directory. Dot copy file. So from to, what are the options? Yeah, I guess. Just leave it as null. Turns out, don't need the allocator. Alright, let's see if that works. lib handmade. So to temp handmade. Guess this can add a. Yep. Oh jeez. What does it return? That's fine. Be temp made so. Code. I need the lib as well to be able to close it. Call this lib and then just return. Yep, I need game code. let's call it dynamic game code is type optional game update and render function. Okay, and then somewhere here need to load and unload the game code. Should I call it load game lib? I need that. Load to 0 if until it's greater than 120. Guess that should work. I do need to unload the game code. lib dot close. Does that make sense? I guess defer lib dot. But there will be one open at the end. Should be a better way of handling this error. I don't think this returns an error, does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, the copy can error. Don't need to log this anymore. Yeah, see if that works. Must be constock on time. Copy file options. Header file not found. Okay, because it's not looking in the right place. Check build path. Yeah, because it's not in the present working directory. Out. Oh, it's a file descriptor. Right. There should be a way to. Hang on. Is that Linux? There should be a way to print it. Just FD. About to try. I gotta check the documentation. Directory. CWD. Set a path. Print. No. Read. Real path. Okay, I see it. Certain categorize absolute path name of the path relative to this directory. Why can't I just return me? Size of view, wait. Oh, I need to pass the allocator. It's too much work. About to do point to build path. I guess I'll do that tomorrow. That tomorrow and then continue with live code editing. But it does sound like a lot of fun to be able to edit code on the fly. Guess wonder if that's how like watch mode works when you build code. Actually, Zig has build watch. Wait, never mind. Look into it tomorrow. Let me make a list of things to do. Going to build paths and then well, actually that's the only thing. Then technically I should be able to edit this file and then this could keep running. Okay, right now it doesn't build. It's true. Dynamic code in work in progress. Okay. I think that's I'm gonna call it today there. That was quite fun. Got dynamic code to work, so that's almost there really. Alright, hope you have a good day. I shall see you back here. Not tomorrow. I go work tomorrow. The day after. The 11th. Alright, see ya.